her storm eyes hit me like a storm. You know, you're really handsome, but you're such an ass. And he's like, so you think I'm handsome? I needed a book that was just going to allow me to continue crying. You know what I mean? I have just taken a left turn from the TBR and I haven't looked back. Hello besties, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Tori if you're new. I hope that you're having the most wonderful day of your entire stinking life. We're doing a weekend reading vlog. It's actually a 48-hour readathon because this weekend is the peace talks during Realmathon. So you get extra points for every single book that you start and finish from Friday to Sunday. I am going to my roots reading solely Kindle Unlimited fantasy romance. Let's talk about the TBR. I actually might end up reading these on my Kindle instead of physically because it's scientifically proven that you read 10 times faster on your Kindle. But I have Fate and Furies by Helen Shur. This is the third and most recent release in the Legends of Thasmar series. I have lost my absolute mind over every single book in this series, and so I feel like this will be such a good one to just binge read for this weekend. Next up, we have The Veiled Kingdom by Holly Renee. This also just got released. It's an enemies to lovers. Who did this to you? It is very, very spicy as well. I feel like when you're doing any type of readathon, like 24-hour-a-thon, 48-hour-a-thon, spicy books are so good because they read so fast. Like, are we okay here? No, we're not. JMO's excited too. Sorry, there are planes landing at an Air Force base that's very close by and JMO's really scared, so he's gonna join us for the rest of this TBR clip. The other two that I want to be my priority, Spark of the Everflame. This is our Who Did This To You book club pick for March, and I have started it. I'm only 10% of the way in. I'm like 60 pages or something, and it's been about a week since I've even looked at this book. So I think I'm just gonna restart right from the very beginning. That way I can get the extra points for when I finish it. Everyone has been gushing about this series. Our main character is like a half mortal, half god. So she has magic that she's hiding, and the whole plot begins when her mom goes missing, and it kind of shakes things up in her world, we'll say. That's pretty much all I know about this book so far, besides the fact that I think she gets roped in to being the enemy slash love interest of a god who gives Rhysand a run for his money. And then the last one is actually gonna be a reread for me of a series that I love, the Shadows and Crowns series, and I just haven't continued with because I started prioritizing a bunch of other books in front of it. So I need to reread Call of the Void by S.M. Gaither because I read it at the end of last year, I think. I listened to it solely on audio and I got through it in like a 24-hour period, like so obsessed. I absolutely loved it. Completely forgot everything that happened in that book. So I need to reread it. I have the audio for it and it's also on Kindle Unlimited, so I might do an immersive read for that one. That is the TBR. Today is Thursday. I wanted to get ahead and plan out what we were going to be reading this weekend, maximizing points. So the next time I check in, we will be starting the readathon, and I will let you know what book I will start with. Hello besties, we are officially in the 48-hour readathon and I'm doing my first check-in. I decided to start with The Veiled Kingdom, which you would have seen a little bit of. I have been on sprints on Cassidy's channel for like the kickoff sprints for quite a while. We're going on almost 5 hours now, and I am 9 chapters into this book. It's really fun so far. So going in, Holly Renee's writing is very spicy, which I think I already talked about, but it's also very like fun and not super serious. Even though she does write fantasy romance, the world building is never super intensive. It's always very like easy to get through, and it's usually just a setup to get to the romance and our characters. I loved how our main characters met. So our girly pop's name is Nira, and I think how you say his name is Dacker. She like escaped her cruel father, who's the king. He was really mean to her when she was growing up and like tortured her to try to elicit her powers to come forth, but she is convinced that she doesn't have any powers. She's captured by the rebels. They find her when she's locked in a cell with Dacker's sister. Their introduction was so good. Niera's hood falls off of her head. She's wearing this like ragged cloak, and we're in Dacker's POV, and he's like, her storm eyes hit me like a storm. It was better than that, but like just exaggerating. Niera just like punches him in the face, and he like stumbles back and like doesn't know what's happening, and I was like, honestly, one of my favorite, if we want to call it a micro trope, like perfect, because it happened in Throne of Glass as well, and I need it to happen more in books, when they literally punch each other in the face. Vibes, like actually vibes. I really like, there's a friendship that's forming between Dacker's sister Ren, like I kind of talked about, and our main girly pop, and I actually really like their friendship. They're like training together, and they're like sparring together, and also I think we're going to get a sparring scene between Niera and Dacker, which I just freaking love so much, honestly. I also think that there is a knife to the throat type scene as well. So this is just checking all of the boxes for me. I'm having a fantastic time. It reads so quickly, and I think that my plan, we'll see how sleepy I get. It's always easy to say this when you're not like fighting to keep your eyes open, but it is 9 o'clock right now, and I'm on chapter 9. It says that I only have 3 hours left in the book, and I kind of want to stay up and finish this book tonight. Really, really strong start so far. Hello besties, good morning. Okay, I am 72% of the way through The Veiled Kingdom, and I'm still absolutely loving it. I think it's so fun. It's very fast paced. Around the 50% mark is where it really starts to get spicy, which I love, and Holly Renee has such good plot twists at the very end of her books that really help to just cinch you in and like capture you for the next book in the series. So I think a couple people in the chats that we've had going during sprints have said that they finished this and they can't wait for the second book, which comes out in June or July. I can't remember, but it comes out really soon. Holly Renee usually does her book releases for series like pretty close together. So I'm so excited to finish this and see like what the final plot twists are. We have some questions from the very beginning that we're still like waiting to get answers on, but the tension between these two, sorry, I'm just like hugging this book and like holding it in front of my face. The tension between these two is so good. Like, I won't say their banter is like the most creative ever. She kind of just tells him to stop being an asshole all the time, and he's like, no, you like it though. And then there's this one time where she's like, you know, you're really handsome, but you're such an ass. And he's like, so you think I'm handsome? And I was like, Dacker baby, he's just out here trying to get a compliment. It did start very like instant though. Like he was immediately smitten by her from the moment he saw her, and she punched him in the face. I don't know if Holly Renee usually writes in a formula, but when I think of Kingdom of Stars and Shadows, at least what happened in the first book, it was like towards the end we got like a couple spicy scenes, and then right after was like the plot twist, the cliffhanger to set up the second book. And so I feel like since I'm at 72% and we haven't gotten an official like spice scene, I think that's what's gonna happen. I also decided that I'm gonna finish like fully reading this book on my Kindle, and then I'm going to go back and annotate with everything that I highlighted on my Kindle. So I will include that annotation process as well, because I think what I want to do after I finish this is switch to an audiobook, and that way I can listen to my audiobook probably for Evermore, which I don't think I mentioned in my TBR for this 48-hour-a-thon, but Evermore is just like a YA fantasy that's about time magic. I read Everless in a recent vlog. I will leave it linked down below. It's a duology and it's super, super fast to read. I've been kind of slowly listening to that audiobook. It was already like 20% into that book, but because I'm reading like the majority of it during this weekend, I think I'm gonna throw it in just to have an audiobook for when I want it. I am gonna count it towards not only this 48-hour readathon, but like for the extra points. I think that'll be nice while I am annotating. So we will do that afterwards. friends. It has been a little while since my last check-in. I went to the gym, which was so nice. I feel like when I do 24 or 48 hour readathons, I oftentimes think to myself, I have to spend absolutely all day just like on the couch reading, and I find that that makes me so tired, and it just makes me want to like watch Twitch streams or watch YouTube videos and like not read. So I feel like breaking it up with some exercise, going out for a walk, doing errands, and like listening to an audiobook, like anything to just break up like physical reading really helps me. So I have been listening to Evermore. I'm now 76% of the way through. I'm trying to listen to this and just finish it as fast as I can because I am not into this book. And that was what people had said about the second book in the duology. The first book, Everless, just to provide a little bit more context if you didn't watch my like Everless vlog, this book, our main character has kind of like a mysterious life. Like everything that she thought she knew was not the truth. And the cliffhanger at the end of the last one, she's trying to figure out a lot more about her magic and her family and like what's happening. And I mentioned that there's really interesting time magic. So in this world, people can trade like time off of their lives through their blood, and the like royalty of this kingdom, all of the people pay a tithe, almost like a tax. They give the royalty and also just like the upper class in general the tithe of their time and blood. So people who are poor in the society really get the short end of the stick and have really short lives because they're just like paying all of their life, the time off of their life, to the royalty people. The royals, the upper class, are almost immortal because they have all of this extra time that they're just drinking and wearing and like having from everyone else. So that is very intriguing to me. However, the second book, and this is interesting because I usually love books where we're traveling around to try to find knowledge and get where we need to go, know what we need to know for the next part of the plot. But I find that in this book, the romance is pretty mid. The traveling around is okay. It's getting old because the only point of this is her like resurfacing memories from past lives. And it's like, okay, but like what's next? Like what's coming of this? What are we working towards? And I feel like that hasn't been very clearly defined. I don't really want to DNF it because I only have, if I listen to it on 2x speed, I have about an hour left of the book. Besties, we're gonna do a little get ready with me and talk about last night. So I meant to vlog a lot more than I did. It's not just last night, but my anxiety has been getting really bad lately, and it's the worst at nights, to the point where I'll be like doom scrolling or I'll be reading and I'm like scared to put my book down or my phone, because immediately once I do, my thoughts just start spiraling into super negative thought patterns and like worst case scenarios, and it's really annoying, and I'm trying to fix it, but it's very difficult for me to vlog at night because I'm feeling like just very, very anxious. I need to get back into the behavioral patterns that I know make myself feel better when I'm feeling very anxious. And so last night I tried to journal, and I just like brain dumped all of my negativity onto the journal page, and then I did some affirmations about like anxiety, and I do think it made me feel a little bit better, but I just started like sob crying. And then I decided, you know what, I'm gonna let myself feel my feelings, right? Like it's not always the best thing to just be like, no, I'm gonna try to be super positive even though I'm feeling really anxious and negative and bad inside. So another book that wasn't on the TBR for this 48-hour readathon, but I decided to get back into Magnolia Park's Into the Dark. I have been slowly reading this throughout the month. I've really been enjoying it. I just don't think that this was a book that I could fly through like for a readathon. I would say none of the books are extremely positive, but this one particularly is exploring a lot of feelings from Magnolia, and she's dealing with really crappy things about her family, and she's also dealing with a lot of grief. I needed a book that was just going to allow me to continue crying, you know what I mean? Like, I just needed a purge of tears, and that's what that book did for me. So I wasn't going to like vlog it and have you guys be like, what is actually happening to her? Like, this is so crazy. Last night, we'll just say, was not a good mental night, and I definitely feel a lot better this morning. Magnolia Parks did what it needed to do for me. Now, it is Sunday. I do have to work a little bit later, so I'm trying to figure out what I want to read, because work, I would be able to listen to an audiobook. However, like we discussed, there's not an audiobook for Spark of the Everflame, and there's not an audiobook for Vows and Ruins. I did finish Evermore yesterday. I ended up giving it 2 stars. My opinions and feelings did not really change, which I don't think is surprising. It just got, unfortunately, really boring and just stayed really boring, and I didn't really care a whole super lot. But we finished 2 books for this 48-hour readathon so far, start and finished 2 books, which is great. I have just taken a left turn from the TBR and I haven't looked back. Wait. We don't have to deter from the TBR too far, because actually, the audiobook that I mentioned is Call of the Void, which is a reread. I think that that would actually be really good. Maybe that will be my audiobook for the day. I'm excited. That will be a good one. Okay, I'm going to finish my makeup, and I will check in a little bit later with some reading updates. I'm sorry for the random therapy session. Thanks for listening though. Okay, besties, I'm like 20% into the Call of the Void. I'm really enjoying it. Like, the first time I did give it 3 stars when I said it was my least favorite of the series so far. I still really like it though. Like, I really enjoy the way that S.M. Gaither writes dialogue. I love the relationships between the characters. They're extremely bantery, and not only in like the tension fun way between our love interests, but also the friend group that our main character Cass has. They tease each other, it's believable dialogue, it just makes you want to be friends with them and be part of that friend group. And it's so fun to be back in this world. I took far too long of a break from this series before rereading this book and then continuing on. I'm hoping actually that I'll be able to continue with the next book in the series in April, just to like finish it out. I only have 2 books left after this one. So anyways, 20% of the way in. I don't think I'll be able to finish this before the end of the 48-hour readathon. And just to give a little bit of background, I know this is like a 3rd book in a series. This series follows our main character, Cassia. In the first book, we are introduced to her when she is kind of like petty thieving. She's kind of a leader of this mishmash friend group slash group of petty thieves. I hesitate to call her an assassin, but like, they would do it if they needed to complete a job, let's say. Cassia's, call her her mentor, but really she was such a figurehead in her life and played kind of a mother role. It was sick, and they were doing these crimes to pay for her medicine. In this world, there is a magical plague that goes around and kills many people. The king of this land blames magic and the gods for this magical plague. If you like character-driven stories, the romance in this, incredible. The audiobooks are also magnificent because Alander has a Scottish accent, and it's like the hottest thing in the entire world to listen to with these audiobooks. There's not a lot of spice in these books. They're definitely more plot focused, more plot driven. There's a lot of action that happens. They're all pretty fast paced as well, but there is some spice that's sprinkled in that is incredible. I did also, I'll show this to you. I haven't shown this yet. I'm gonna post pictures of it eventually on my Instagram, but I wanna wait until I've completed these spreads. I'm not usually a binge reader of series. I like to take a little bit of time between books just as like palate cleansers. That does bite me in the butt though, because sometimes I go too long without picking a series back up. So to help me, I decided to do some spreads for the Shadows and Crowns series. I've done like my own brief little synopses of what happens in each book. So this one is for the first book, and I've started to include some pictures and stuff too, just for like vibes of the book. I've done it for the second book as well, but I was trying to do this for the third book, and like I said, I completely forgot like everything that happened in it. I'm going to be filling this out for the third book, and then I saved a couple pages to do the last 2 books as well. But I think that this will be really helpful because if by chance I do go a little bit longer than I intended before getting to the next book in the series, I will have this recap and I won't have to fully like reread the prior book in order to continue on with the series. And I will say this series gets quite entangled in a lot of different things. It's similar to a Throne of Glass series in terms of like magic, how many characters there are, how entangled everyone is with everyone else. Like there's a lot of different things happening. If you liked Throne of Glass, I think you might like this series. I probably won't do a lot of B-roll because what I'm going to be doing is like working and listening to an audiobook, which is a little bit boring to look at. I'm here to close out this 48-hour readathon vlog. So unfortunately I didn't read anything of Magnolia Parks last night. I was working, listening to my audiobook. I'm so grateful that I decided to start Call of the Void because I got 30% of the way through the book total. And then by the time I laid down after like packing for my trip, cleaning all day, doing work, I didn't feel like physically reading. So that's unfortunate, but I will finish her another day. Call of the Void, I'm really enjoying it so far. I don't remember why I gave this book 3 stars. Maybe it starts to drag and the pacing was off in certain places, but so far 30%, I'm absolutely loving it because Cass and Ellender are one of my favorite book couples of all time. I love Ellender. I think he's so badass and sweet and caring and hot with his Scottish accent in this audiobook. Like I'm just absolutely obsessed with him. So I'm on chapter 10. I ended up reading 157 pages. I was flipping between my Kindle at certain points because I'm trying to highlight this book a little bit more. And that way when I write my like synopsis little review, like 1-pagers for these books, I will have some highlights to include because I do like to include important quotes and stuff like that. So I have been doing that. Overall, I think that this 48-hour readathon was pretty successful. We finished The Veiled Kingdom and gave it 4 stars. We finished Evermore and unfortunately gave it 2 stars. And then we got 159 pages into Call of the Void. So I'm pretty pleased with that. I hope that you enjoyed watching, friends. If you've made it this far, please leave a little sparkle emoji if you have watched and would like to let me know that you're here. I will catch you in the comments. I will see you in my next one. Toodles, friends.